Ready. Season 1, Episode 6. My feet are getting kind of tired. And actually, let me know if my silly random comments, whether you like them or if you dislike them. Like, for instance, my feet are tired. Or like last week where I pointed down at the ground and said, because of batching and stuff. Let me know whether you like those or not, or whether you would prefer that I edited them out. I kind of like them, but let me know. Anyway, Principles of Success. The Principles of Success, Season 1, Episode 6. And this is the second week of action. And I want to talk about priorities first. Priorities are very important to success because none of us have enough time. Everybody has 24 hours. And most people do not have enough time in those 24 hours to get everything they want to get done. I have over 40 books that, as of right now, that I have thought of to write. And well, that's a long list considering a book takes me on average between 2 to 3 years to write. So that's a long period of time. Also, the books are not that much of my priority. I enjoy writing them, and on the business side, entertainment is always a great marketing tool, but as of right now, my priority is creating the principles of success. It is on my to-do list to write 300 words a day. Have I written 300 words in a week? No, I have not. But it is on my to-do list. So you have to decide, what are your priorities? Some people's priorities are going to be very different from others. My priorities right now are dating and making money because I don't really have much else to do right now. So those are my priorities. Other people's well, actually, health is always my priority. But other people have different priorities. A lot of my friends, their priority is school because I live in a college town. And you have to also make adjustments for your priorities. I lived in a ski resort area. It was nice. It was super pretty. One of the prettiest places in America, in my opinion, from what I've seen. And I really liked it. There was not very many people to date there, though. Everyone there were 70-year-old retirees and people who were only there to go skiing for the weekend. So, because my priorities were to eventually find a wife, I had to move to where there was people to find a wife. So you have to take action. Your priority, you might say your priorities are one thing, but if your actions are saying something different, that's your priorities. Most people, their priority is once they get off of work to lay on the couch and watch TV. I will admit, a lot of time, that is my priority too. But you have to take the action. You have to make sure that what you want to do and where you want to be are... I have no idea where I'm going with this. You have to take the action to make sure that you're doing what you want to do and what you want to be. There we go. That's much better. And you have to figure out what those things are. For a lot of people, I'll use the school example again. Your priority might be to get an A in that class. So your actions need to be to study your homework. But if your priority isn't strong enough to make you want to do that homework, then your grades are going to suffer. Your priority might be having a great family, or you might say your priority is having a great family. But if you are at if you are at the office for 80 hours a day, which is what a lot of business people do because success is so hard, especially financial success is so hard, then you might say that your priority is having a great family life, but if you're neglecting it, then is it really your priority? And you need to figure out what your priorities are. And then you need to figure out what the actions you want to take are for those priorities. The next thing I want to talk about is balance versus harvest season. This is a principle that I learned from Taking the Stairs. I don't remember who the author is. But essentially, everybody is always talking about life balance. I just realized that I rock back and forth on my feet, so if the recording fades in and out, that's kind of why. I don't think it should, but if that is, that's why. Anyway, harvest season. The harvest season principle. Everybody talks about balance and how you need work-life balance and all of that stuff. And the problem is everyone thinks that it needs to be equal. I don't think you need to spend 8 hours at work and 8 hours with your family. I don't think most people, when they think about it in that terms, they actually think that's what needs to happen. People talk about a well-balanced meal. That doesn't mean having an equal amount of meat and an equal amount of vegetables and an equal amount of bread and an equal amount of fruit and all of that. It just, a well-balanced meal is what is going to benefit you. So, that's some of the misconceptions with balance. The other problem with balance is everyone seems to think that it needs to happen all at the same time. And that's where the harvest season part of this principle comes in. Farmers, when it's harvest season, farmers don't do anything else but from the moment they wake up to the moment they go to sleep is harvest, because that's how they make their money. All the other activities they do is all leading up to this, but if they don't harvest their crops before the frost sets in, they're going to go bad and they're going to lose money. So farmers will work 15, 16, 17 hours during that period. During the rest of the period, they still do plenty of work, but it's nowhere near as that extreme. And that's what I mean by the harvest season. So some of the ways that I have applied it to my life is I wanted to write one book. I've been working on Gemini for 2-3 years before this period, and I don't even actually count those because that 2-3 period involved one chapter, and that's not a whole lot of progress because that was the one chapter of the first draft, so it was a mess, so I don't even count that period. But once I decided that that was my goal for that particular year, that everything else was going to fall by the wayside. Back to the priorities, though, I say everything else went by the wayside, but I made sure that health stayed good. I made sure that my family relationships stayed good. But I did not go on a single date for almost 2 years. Now, my priority is 2 priorities: business and dating. I'm still making sure that my health stays good, and I'm still making sure that my family relationships are good. But I will go on a date every single night some weeks, and I will completely cut everything off and work on my business if there's a deadline. So that's what I mean by harvest season. And the other pro of harvest season is because maintaining is a whole lot easier than building. What I mean by that is, I'll use bodybuilding as an example. If you want to build a ton of muscle, which I do want to at some point, you have to be very focused on your nutrition, making sure that you get a very much excess supply of calories. Because I have such a high metabolism, that means like 10,000 calories a day. That's a lot. And making sure you work out every single day, working at different parts of your body every single day, and working out for an extended period of time. The cool thing is, though, once you have the muscle that you want, you can cut back drastically on your efforts to maintain it. For instance, I believe, I don't really have muscle to actually attest to this, but I believe it said that to maintain the muscle you have, you only need about a half an hour workout about 3 times a week. So that's a whole lot easier once you have it. And that's where the balance and harvest season combine, is you can be unbalanced for a period of time, because over time you will slowly balance everything out, because the maintenance of it is easier. So if you really, really want to focus on your career, on your schooling if you're in school, on your business if you're an entrepreneur, then it's okay to push the things that are not a priority to the side and go 150% on what your priority is. And then you need to be decisive about it too, because if you're just sitting there thinking about it, it doesn't do you much good. And if you start down one path and then change your mind, basically all of that time was wasted. Now, it is better to make a bad decision than it is to make no decision at all. There's a story by Elder Holland, who is an apostle in my church, and he was telling a story about how he was in the middle of nowhere. I don't remember what they were doing, but they came to a fork in the road, and they didn't have any idea which way. Well, they came to an unfamiliar fork in the road on their way back, and they didn't have any idea which way to go. Well, he prayed about it, and he got a prompting to go down one particular path. It wasn't very long till they figured out that that path ended and was not the correct path. And the principle he basically taught from that was, sometimes Heavenly Father will answer prayers telling you take one direction, because now he knew for certain that that was the incorrect path, and he could go forward on the correct path without any doubt that they took the wrong path. So making a decision is important, but that's where persistence and staying to it comes into play, because if you start something and then decide to quit, then all that time is lost. And generally it's important to focus on one thing at a time. If you are trying to go this way and that way and that way and that way and this way and that way, then you're not going to get anything done. I have a long list of things to do. I already mentioned that I have over 40 books to write. But my business would suffer if I tried to do books and the business and dating and bodybuilding and all of that. So you need to pick 1 or 2 things at a time to really focus on. You can maintain them. And this is purely my idea. I didn't get this from anyone, but I call it the analogy of the 5-course meal. You have the main dish, and that can be your main dish for however long you want it. But you can have a couple side projects going at all times. Once you decide that you want to make one of the side projects your main dish, you can't have 2 main dishes. So you need to set the main dish aside, whether you want to set it aside completely, or if you want to turn it into a side dish, for whether it's just maintaining, you can do that, but you only get one main dish, and then you can bring out one of your side dishes and make it your main priority. Like, while I was writing the book, I loved business, I was studying business, but I was not actively pursuing building my business. Anyway, that's pretty much it for this week, and again, I hope you enjoyed. I hope you got value out of it. That's most important. And again, if you got value out of it, please share it with the people you care about, so that way they can get value out of it too. Anyway, I will see you next time, and I hope you had a great week.